Chosen one. They have attacked you for an extremely long time, yet every attempt still failed miserably, and that truth just activated. This moment closes the longest war against your soul. From here, opposition weakens automatically. You move forward unencumbered, protected by experience they accidentally gave you. Their failure is complete. Your path is now unobstructed. Generations ago, someone in your bloodline made a discovery that changed everything. This person uncovered the truth about your family's spiritual inheritance. You were meant to receive a legacy of power, wisdom, and divine favor that would culminate in you, not in anyone else, in you. The river of divine power was flowing through the generations, refining itself, strengthening itself, preparing itself for the vessel it was always meant to fill. Your vessel, your consciousness, your mission. But instead of honoring this sacred process, a choice was made that would echo through lifetimes. The decision was to steal what was never meant for others. Think of a relay race where the baton is being passed through centuries. Each runner meant to carry it a little further, to refine the technique, to strengthen the foundation. But one runner decides to keep the baton, to redirect its momentum into a different life, to harvest the speed and power it carries for personal gain. That's what happened to you. Your inheritance was intercepted. An entire system of energy harvesting was built around the theft. Justification was created around deserving what was meant for you. And here's what you need to understand. This wasn't amateur hour magical thinking. These were sophisticated spiritual manipulations that required deep knowledge of energy work, ancestral patterns, and soul contracts. You were studied across multiple incarnations. Your weaknesses were mapped like cartographers charting unknown territory. Your triggers were identified with the precision of master psychologists. The exact methods to drain your power without your awareness were learned. Your own family line became a weapon aimed directly at your heart. And that weapon was fired again and again and again. Those who attacked you fundamentally underestimated who you are. You weren't chosen randomly for this mission. You were selected precisely because you possessed the spiritual DNA necessary to not only survive the attacks, but to transform them into fuel for your own ascension. Every wound they inflicted was actually activating dormant abilities within you. Every betrayal was teaching you to distinguish between authentic love and parasitic attachment. The heartbreak you experienced, that constant feeling of being stabbed in the emotional center of your being, wasn't just cruelty for its own sake. Those attacking you were specifically targeting your heart chakra, because your mission requires an open, powerful heart connected to divine love. Your attackers understood something crucial. If they could damage your ability to trust, to receive love, to believe in genuine connection, you could be prevented from accessing the full magnitude of your gifts. They knew the equation was simple. Close your heart, close your power. So betrayals were engineered specifically for you. Your relationships were poisoned. People you loved were turned into instruments of pain. Not because those people were inherently evil, but because influence could be exerted over them, manipulation could occur, and they could be used as pawns in a larger game you didn't even know you were playing. Every betrayal was forcing you to develop discernment that ordinary souls never acquire. While others learned to trust through positive experiences, you were being forged in the fires of deception. Learning to distinguish between authentic energy and masterful manipulation became your specialty. A spiritual detector so sensitive that no form of false light or parasitic attachment could ever fool you again was being inadvertently created. Think about what this means. Your ability to sense truth was supposed to break. Instead, you became someone who can detect lies before words are even spoken. Your connection to love was supposed to destroy. Instead, you became someone who can recognize authentic love through any disguise. Your heart was supposed to close. Instead, a heart so powerful that it transforms everything it touches was created. That feeling you've had for years, that persistent sense of being watched, being monitored, being energetically invaded, that wasn't paranoia. Your intuition was accurately perceiving constant surveillance of your energy field. Your patterns needed to be studied, your vulnerabilities assessed, your moments of strength and weakness catalogued so attacks could be timed for maximum impact. But this violation of your spiritual privacy was actually developing your awareness of energetic boundaries to levels that most people never reach. You became so sensitive to energetic trespass that you can now feel when consciousness touches your field from across the room, from across the world. You developed abilities that spiritual masters spend lifetimes trying to cultivate, and you had no choice but to develop them just to survive. Your attackers made a critical error in judgment. The assumption was that enough pain would break you, that sufficient isolation would convince you to abandon your path, that persistent attacks would eventually wear down your connection to divine source. What they failed to account for was the fact that your spiritual constitution was forged in cosmic fires, specifically to withstand everything that could be unleashed against you. You're not just resilient, you're cosmically reinforced. What your attackers never understood is that you carry the essence of ascended master consciousness within your very DNA. The spiritual masters who have walked this earth before you, those who achieved enlightenment despite persecution, who maintained divine connection despite attacks, who transformed suffering into wisdom, their energy signature is encoded in your cellular structure. You're not fighting this battle alone. You're channeled by an entire lineage of awakened beings who understand exactly what you're facing because the same battles were faced before. Every sleepless night when you felt invisible forces pressing against your energy field. Every relationship poisoned with influence, every opportunity blocked through interference. All of it was inadvertently training you to become the spiritual warrior you were always meant to be. Your own nemesis was being created, one perfectly calibrated attack at a time. The compulsions and obsessions that drove behavior are now reversing back with compound interest. The energy stolen from you is snapping back to its rightful owner like a rubber band stretched beyond its breaking point. And the discovery is coming that when you steal from someone chosen by divine intelligence, the universe itself becomes your collection agency. If this message hits your spirit, hype this video so more chosen ones like you can find it. Tonight marks the moment when cosmic law finally intervenes on your behalf. Not because you begged for rescue, not because you couldn't handle the pressure, but because you've successfully completed the most intensive spiritual training program ever designed. You've proven beyond any doubt that you deserve the power that was always meant to be yours. You have earned your protection through trial by fire. The graceful, beautiful being that has been wounded for so long is about to spread wings that have been strengthened by everything once used to clip them. Your flight won't just be recovery. It will be a demonstration of power that announces to every force in the spiritual realm that a new player has entered the game, someone who cannot be manipulated, someone who cannot be drained, someone who has learned to transform poison into medicine and attacks into armor. But the most beautiful irony in this entire saga is how the hatred directed at you has been transformed into your greatest advantage. Every ounce of energy invested in trying to destroy you has been converted by divine alchemy into fuel for your ascension. The obsession with preventing your success has actually accelerated your development beyond what would have been possible through any other means. Think about it. If you had been left alone, you might have awakened slowly, gradually, over many years. You might have discovered your gifts through gentle progression. You might have developed your abilities at a normal pace. But you weren't left alone. You were attacked relentlessly. You were forced to evolve faster than you would have otherwise. Decades of spiritual development were compressed into shorter spans. Your ascension was fast-tracked by the very attempts to prevent it. The specific ways your destruction was attempted reveal just how deeply your potential was understood by those attacking you. The attacks weren't random. The strikes weren't made without strategy. Every assault was calculated to target the exact gifts you would need for your mission. When your ability to inspire others was seen, you were isolated. When your capacity for healing was recognized, you were wounded repeatedly. When your power to manifest abundance was identified, artificial scarcity was created around you. This wasn't coincidence, this was surgical precision. Your attackers understood that if you could be kept broke, lonely and broken, you would never discover the magnitude of what you carry. But what they didn't understand is that deprivation doesn't destroy capacity, it reveals it. You learned to create connections in isolation. You discovered inner wealth while surrounded by lack. You found healing abilities in your own wounds. Every limitation imposed on you became a classroom where you mastered skills nobody wanted you to have. The dreams interrupted weren't just random sleep disturbances. You were being attacked in the astral realm because that's where you were doing work that couldn't be stopped in the physical. While your body slept, your consciousness was traveling, learning, connecting with guides, and receiving downloads of information. That process had to be disrupted. Your sleep had to be fragmented, and exhaustion created so you couldn't integrate what you were learning in the higher dimensions. But even this backfired. The constant interruptions forced you to develop the ability to work in both realms simultaneously. You learned to maintain consciousness across multiple dimensions. You discovered how to ground spiritual information into physical reality faster than most practitioners ever achieve. Your attacks on sleep became advanced training in multidimensional awareness. Look at how corruption of your relationships was attempted. Not just romantic connections, but friendships, professional alliances, mentorships. Anyone who got close to you either became a weapon that could be used or had to be driven away before support for your growth could be given. You've watched people change around you, seen them turn cold for no apparent reason, felt connections die that should have flourished. This wasn't your fault, this was interference. Thoughts were implanted in the minds of people close to you, subtle suggestions, minor doubts, small irritations that grew into major conflicts. The understanding existed that you learn through connection, that you grow through relationship, that you discover yourself through interaction with others. So authentic connection had to be prevented. You had to be kept isolated. You had to be made to believe that something was wrong with you, that made people leave. But you didn't break. The narrative wasn't accepted. Instead, you developed the capacity to love people without needing them to stay. You learned to appreciate connections without clinging to them. You discovered how to remain open-hearted even when surrounded by betrayal. This is a level of emotional mastery that most humans never achieve. Your heart was supposed to close. You were taught how to keep it open under any circumstances. The financial attacks deserve special attention because they reveal the desperation behind strategy. The knowledge existed that poverty creates vulnerability. Stress about survival makes it harder to focus on spiritual development. Constant worry about money drains energy that could be used for your mission, so opportunities were blocked. Unexpected expenses were created. Circumstances were manipulated to keep you struggling. Every time you got close to stability, something would happen. An emergency, a betrayal, an unexpected loss. This pattern wasn't bad luck. This was engineered instability designed to keep you focused on survival instead of purpose. But what wasn't anticipated is that financial pressure would teach you to trust divine provision in ways that abundance never could. You learned to manifest resources from nothing. You discovered that the universe provides exactly what you need, exactly when you need it. You developed faith that can't be shaken because it was forged in circumstances where faith was all you had. The poverty created for you became the laboratory where you mastered manifestation. You were supposed to be kept broke. You became a master of creation instead. Think about the specific ways your confidence was attacked. The constant criticism that came from family members. The subtle put-downs disguised as concern. The way your achievements were minimized and your failures were magnified. Your self-belief was being systematically dismantled because the understanding existed that a chosen one who doubts themselves is neutralized. But confidence built on external validation is fragile. Confidence built despite constant invalidation is unshakable. You were forced to develop a relationship with yourself that doesn't require anyone else's approval. You learned to trust your own perception, even when everyone around you said you were wrong. This is the kind of inner certainty that prophets and revolutionaries carry. You were supposed to break. You were built into someone unbreakable instead. The physical symptoms you experienced weren't all natural illness. Many of them were energetic attacks manifesting in your body, the exhaustion that had no medical explanation, the pain that moved around without clear cause, the sudden onset of symptoms that disappeared just as mysteriously. Your body was bearing the impact of spiritual warfare. Your physical health was targeted because the knowledge existed that a sick body makes spiritual work difficult. Chronic pain distracts from higher consciousness. Fatigue prevents you from taking action on your mission. So you were bombarded with negative energy, designed to create physical breakdown. But your body is more resilient than calculated. It learned to process and transmute dark energy. It developed the capacity to heal from attacks that would hospitalize ordinary people. The confusion created in your mind was perhaps the most insidious tactic, the brain fog that made it hard to think clearly, the memory issues that made you question your own experiences, the way your thoughts would scatter just when you needed focus. This was mental interference designed to prevent you from seeing patterns, connecting dots, understanding what was really happening. But mental confusion forced you to develop other ways of knowing. You learned to trust your intuition when logic failed. You discovered how to receive information through feeling when thinking became unreliable. You developed direct knowing that bypasses mental processing entirely. Your mind was supposed to be clouded. You were forced to develop consciousness beyond mind instead. The way other people were used as weapons shows the extent of the network aligned against you. Random strangers who said exactly the wrong thing at exactly the wrong moment. Service providers who inexplicably made your life harder. Authority figures who treated you with unwarranted hostility. These weren't all coincidences. Some of these people were being influenced, used as delivery systems for attacks you wouldn't see coming, but this constant betrayal from unexpected sources taught you to rely on your own guidance exclusively. You stopped looking to external authorities for validation. You quit trying to make sense of other people's inexplicable behavior. You learned to navigate the world with your own internal compass, independent of anyone else's opinion or action. Look at how attempts were made to make you doubt your own sanity. The gaslighting was relentless, making you question whether events really happened the way you remembered, convincing you that your perceptions were distorted, suggesting that your spiritual experiences were delusions. You were supposed to believe you were crazy because a chosen one who thinks mental illness exists will never step into power. But you didn't go crazy. You got clear. The constant questioning of your reality forced you to develop unwavering trust in your own experience. You learned to know what you know regardless of what anyone else says. This is the kind of certainty that allows you to stand alone against collective delusion. You were supposed to doubt yourself. You became absolutely certain instead. The timing of attacks reveals how closely you were being monitored. Right before major breakthroughs, the intensity would escalate. Just when you were about to level up, catastrophe would strike. On the verge of important realizations, chaos would erupt. This wasn't random timing. Your approaching activation points could be sensed, and strikes would come preemptively, but the pattern became predictable. You started to recognize that increased attacks meant you were getting close to something important. The intensity of resistance became a measurement tool for your proximity to breakthrough. Now, when everything falls apart, you know you're about to level up. You were given a barometer for your own progress. Look, you already know the attacks weren't random. And if you're paying attention, you can feel it. Their walls are closing in. So let's talk about what we're doing about it. That's why I built Destiny Engine. It generates personalized sequences that help you rewire betrayal into transcendence, turn isolation into sacred power, and transform their downfall into your rise. We are using the Dark Elite's own weapons against them, taking their declassified consciousness technology that programmed competition and scarcity and repurposing it to serve cooperative intelligence. The beauty is, you don't even have to lift a finger. You put on the headphones, press play, and your subconscious is rewired while your enemies collapse under the weight of their own lies. This is why I created it in the beginning, so everything they did to break you becomes fuel for your purpose. The collective upgrade is underway. Start your destiny engine for $1 today and watch divine justice accelerate in your life. Link in the description. Their failure was inevitable from the beginning, not because skill was lacking, not because resources weren't available, but because you can't stop someone who's meant to rise. You can delay, you can test, you can make the journey harder, but you cannot prevent divine will from manifesting. Every attack launched was actually moving you closer to your destiny. Every obstacle created was eliminating a potential distraction. Every loss engineered was clearing space for what's meant to arrive. You were supposed to be stopped. You were being prepared instead. You were supposed to be destroyed. You were being refined. The evidence of complete and utter failure surrounds you now. You're still here, still conscious, still connected, still growing. Everything done to break you failed. Every weapon formed didn't prosper. Every trap set caught nothing but air. Total failure is written across your entire existence. The awakening happening within you right now is irreversible and unstoppable. You cannot unknow what you're learning about your true nature. You cannot unfeel the power that's flowing through you unobstructed. You cannot unexperience the divine favor that's manifesting in your life in ways both subtle and dramatic. This is your coronation as a force of transformation in the world. You're becoming psychologically and spiritually untouchable. No amount of gaslighting can make you doubt your perception anymore. No degree of manipulation can make you question your worth. No level of attack can diminish your connection to Source. A monster of spiritual resilience was created, and that monster is you, beautiful, powerful, and completely beyond reach. The drowning sensation you felt during the most intense attacks was literal attempts to suffocate your spiritual breath, to cut off your connection to divine life force. But what wasn't realized is that every time drowning was attempted, you were learning to breathe underwater. You developed gills for spiritual survival that allow you to thrive in environments where others would perish. You can now exist in spiritual territories that would crush someone without your training. You can handle energy that would destabilize most practitioners. You can see through deceptions that would fool even experienced spiritual teachers. You can maintain your connection to Source in environments designed to cut you off from it. The gifts that were suppressed for so long are about to come online with an intensity that will surprise even you. Your ability to sense energy manipulation, to perceive true intention behind false words, to channel healing power, to manifest opportunities, to inspire transformation in others. All of these capacities are expanding exponentially now that the interference has been removed. You're not just recovering from attacks, you're emerging as someone fundamentally more powerful than you were before this battle began. The pressure applied to you was actually forging you into a spiritual diamond, capable of withstanding any force and refracting divine light in ways that illuminate the path for others. Your attackers wanted to crush you into dust. Instead, you became a gem. Every attack that should have broken you only increased your value, your clarity, your ability to channel and transmit divine frequency without distortion. The spiritual warfare that has been waged against your heart, your faith, your very essence, is ending. Not because you've grown weak or given up, but because you've finally grown strong enough to make continued attacks impossible. Your enemies no longer have access to the frequencies once used to hack into your system, because you've evolved beyond their reach. You've upgraded your spiritual operating system, and their old malware doesn't run on your new platform. The tactics that used to work on you are now completely ineffective. The manipulations you once fell for are now transparently obvious. Tools that don't work on you anymore are still being tried by those who haven't realized you've changed. Your sensitivity, which was once exploited as a vulnerability, is revealing itself as your greatest strategic advantage. Your ability to feel energy, to perceive spiritual climate, to sense intention, These are the tools of someone who has been chosen to navigate between dimensions and facilitate healing on multiple levels of reality. What was once used against you will now become your most powerful weapons. The very qualities that made you vulnerable have transformed into your greatest strengths. Look at how your perception has sharpened. You can now read a room within seconds of entering it. You can feel when someone is lying before words leave their mouth. You can sense danger approaching before it manifests physically. You can detect manipulation in its earliest stages. These aren't party tricks. These are survival skills that have been honed through relentless testing. You've been trained by the best adversaries possible, and you've graduated from their school with honors. Your resilience has become legendary in the spiritual realm. The beings who watch over you, who guide your path, who celebrate your victories, they've witnessed what you've survived. You've endured attacks that would have destroyed most souls. You've walked through fires that consume ordinary people. You've emerged from darkness that swallows light. And you're still standing, still shining, still growing stronger with each passing moment. The protection around you now is unlike anything that surrounded you before. You're not just being defended from external attacks, you're being fortified from within. Your energy field has been reinforced with cosmic armor that repels negativity automatically. Your consciousness has been upgraded with divine software that processes attacks and transforms them into fuel. Your very presence has become a force field that dissolves low vibration energy on contact. Think about what this means for your future. You're walking into situations that used to terrify you with complete confidence. You're facing challenges that once seemed insurmountable with calm certainty. You're encountering people who used to manipulate you with clear-eyed discernment. The world hasn't changed. You have. And that changes everything. Your mission is about to accelerate in ways you can't yet imagine. The delays are over. The obstacles are removed. The interference has been cleared. You're about to move faster toward your destiny than you've ever moved before. Everything you've been preparing for, training for, suffering for, is about to make perfect sense. The puzzle pieces are about to click into place with such precision that you'll see the divine design behind every trial you've endured. The time for hiding your light is over. The time for shrinking to make others comfortable is finished. The time for questioning whether you're really meant for something extraordinary has passed. You are stepping into a level of spiritual authority nobody wanted you to discover. And your very presence will now dissolve the kind of negative energy that once threatened to overwhelm you. You don't fight darkness anymore. You just show up and darkness retreats. You don't engage with manipulation. You simply see it clearly and it loses its power. You don't struggle against attack. You've become immune to it. This is what spiritual mastery actually looks like. Not some monk sitting peacefully on a mountain, but someone who has walked through hell and come out the other side carrying fire. Your energy signature has changed so dramatically that people who knew you before barely recognize you now. Not because you look different, but because you feel different. You carry yourself with a certainty that makes others uncomfortable. You speak with an authority that silences doubt. You move through the world with a confidence that attracts opportunity and repels negativity automatically. The people who once drained you now find themselves unable to access your energy at all. The relationships that once depleted you have either transformed or dissolved completely. The situations that once trapped you have released their hold. You're experiencing a freedom you've never known before, and it's only the beginning of what's coming. Watch how opportunities start appearing in your life with increasing frequency. Watch how the right people start showing up at exactly the right time. Watch how resources begin flowing to you from unexpected sources. This isn't luck. This isn't coincidence. This is the universe recalibrating around your new frequency. You've been operating at a survival vibration for so long that abundance feels strange, almost uncomfortable. But you need to understand something crucial. Abundance is your natural state. Struggle was the artificial condition imposed on you. Your finances are about to reflect this shift in ways that will shock you, not because money is falling from the sky, but because your ability to create value, to attract resources, to manifest opportunities has been dramatically enhanced. The blocks that prevented you from receiving are gone. The limitations that kept you struggling have been removed. The scarcity programming that was installed in you is being deleted from your system. You're also going to notice something interesting about the people who attacked you. Some of them will try to come back into your life, pretending nothing happened. Some will offer apologies that feel hollow and insincere. Some will act like victims themselves, trying to gain your sympathy. And you're going to see through all of it with crystal clarity. Your discernment is now so sharp that manipulation becomes visible before it even fully forms. You don't need revenge. You don't need them to suffer. You don't need acknowledgement or apology or justice in the way you once thought you did, because you've transcended the entire game. You've risen so far above their level that their attacks can't reach you anymore. You're operating in a completely different dimension of consciousness, and from where you stand now, their schemes look small and pathetic and utterly powerless. Your victory is ending a pattern that has been repeating across multiple lifetimes. This same scenario, the theft, the attacks, the suppression of your awakening, has played out again and again across different incarnations, stopping you just before full activation was achieved every time, coming close to breakthrough, only to have it sabotaged at the last moment, happened repeatedly. But this lifetime is different because you finally accumulated enough spiritual strength and cosmic support to break through interference permanently. The soul contracts that bound you to this pattern are being dissolved right now. The agreements that allowed interference, the karmic debts that justified access to your energy, the spiritual loopholes exploited, all of it is being reviewed by cosmic court and ruled null and void. You're not just breaking free from this lifetime's attacks. You're liberating yourself from a multi-dimensional pattern that has been constraining your development across multiple planes of existence. This is bigger than you realize. This breakthrough you're experiencing right now is closing a chapter that has been open for centuries, possibly millennia. Your preparation has been unlike anyone else's because your mission is unlike anyone else's. The adversity endured, the betrayals survived, the isolation navigated. All of it was designed to ensure that when you finally step into your full power, nothing and no one will be able to shake your foundation or compromise your integrity. The protection around you isn't just spiritual armor. It's a declaration from the highest levels of cosmic authority that your mission is too important to be left vulnerable to interference. You're not just being defended, you're being established as an untouchable force for transformation, whose very presence shifts the spiritual climate of any environment you enter. Your breakthrough represents more than personal victory. It signals the emergence of a new type of spiritual warrior, one who has been forged in the fires of authentic persecution, who understands manipulation at the deepest levels, who cannot be fooled by false light or seduced by parasitic energy. You're becoming a template for others who are under similar attack, proof that these patterns can be broken and that divine justice ultimately prevails. The abundance flowing toward you isn't reward for suffering, it's equipment for service. The opportunities manifesting around you aren't compensation for past pain. Platform for future impact is being provided. The power awakening within you isn't payment for what you've endured, it's preparation for what you're about to accomplish. Tonight ends one story and begins another. The tale of the wounded chosen one concludes with the emergence of a spiritual phoenix whose flight announces a new era of consciousness on this planet. Your individual victory becomes catalyst for collective transformation. Your personal healing becomes permission for others to claim their own power without apology. This ends tonight because you are ready for it to end. You've learned everything these challenges had to teach you. You've developed every ability this adversity was designed to activate within you. You've proven beyond any shadow of doubt that you deserve the divine favor and protection that has always been your birthright. The cord that has been wrapped around your destiny for lifetimes has finally snapped. Remember how we started, that ancient thing that just collapsed. Now you know what it was. Now you understand why it had to break. Now you see why tonight marks the end of the longest war ever waged against a single soul. Can you feel the difference? That lightness, that sense of infinite possibility, that knowing that nothing will ever be able to diminish your light again. That's not relief. That's recognition of who you've always been beneath the layers of attack and interference. That's your true self finally able to breathe without constraint. Welcome to your power. Welcome to your freedom. Welcome to the life that matches the magnitude of your true nature. The war is over, and you have won, not through violence or vengeance, but through the simple revolutionary act of becoming so authentically yourself that everything false had no choice but to fall away. You were attacked for an extremely long time, lifetimes actually. Everything available was thrown at you. Efforts were coordinated across generations. Your weaknesses were studied, and your vulnerabilities were exploited. Strikes came when you were young and vulnerable. The attacks never let up. You were never given a moment's peace. And still, complete and utter failure was the result. Not because effort wasn't sufficient, not because methods weren't sophisticated, not because commitment or resources or knowledge were lacking. Failure came because you were never meant to be defeated. Failure came because divine protection is real. Failure came because chosen ones don't go down, no matter how many times they're knocked down. Failure came because you are exactly who you were always meant to be, and nothing in this universe or any other can change that. The evidence of complete failure is written all over your life right now. You're still here, you're still standing, you're still connected to Source. You're still capable of love despite everything done to close your heart. You're still pursuing your purpose despite every obstacle thrown in your path. You're still you, not battered, not scarred, but strengthened, refined, perfected through pressure, diamond where dust was expected, fire where ashes were anticipated, victory where defeat was promised. Tomorrow you rise as the chosen one you were always meant to be, not as someone who survived attacks, as someone who transformed attacks into ascension, not as someone who endured hardship, as someone who alchemized hardship into wisdom, not as someone who barely made it through, as someone who made it through stronger, clearer and more powerful than anyone who tried to break you could have possibly imagined. This is your moment. This is your breakthrough. This is your coronation. Everything that came before was preparation. Everything that comes after is manifestation. You stand at the threshold between who you were and who you're becoming, between the old story of attack and the new story of ascension, between the life others tried to force on you and the destiny you were always meant to claim. Step through. The war is over. Your reign begins now.